What's up everyone, I'm Callum Toast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some insane battles in the Psychic Cup with a spicy team consisting of Galarian Articuno, Shadow, Metagross and Malamar. Now you're not going to see too much spice in the Psychic Cup, but I did go on an insane 9-1 run to end the day after taking a while to sort of get used to running this team. Last time we had the Psychic Cup, Galarian Articuno was absolutely devastating as a closer. But this season there's a few Pokemon that really give it problems, especially Pokemon like Shadow, Gardevoir or Bruxish that can fully fast move farm down and shield once. So I've decided to actually use it in the lead, and you're going to see that it doesn't win a lot of leads, but I do grab an early shield advantage, which is absolutely massive for my Shadow Metagross, which is going to be able to close out a ton of games with the insane damage from Bullet Punch and Meteor Mash. Now I'd have loved to run a third spicy Pokemon, but unfortunately Bruxish will be able to fully farm down my entire team if I don't run something that's at least neutral to bite, so I am running Malamar. I think it is a fairly safe Pokemon, I don't really need to say more about that, but with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. What is the most underrated Pokemon in the current Psychic Cup meta? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we lead Articuno into Bruxish. This is awful for us, but the great thing is that I will be able to make it to a Brave Bird before they get to a charge move, so I can go for the Brave Bird, grab the shield, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I can come in with my Malamar, and this is a really comfortable matchup. I can let the charge move go through absolutely fine. They actually bait with the Psychic Fangs, perfectly fine with me. It's triple resisted. We get to the foul play, we take out the Bruxish, they come in with their own Malamar here, and they're going to go for a foul play pretty much straight away, so that's perfectly fine with me. I can tank it. I'm going to build to the Hyper Beam, go for a foul play, and this should be able to threaten a shield against this opponent, and I do grab a shield. I get to a second foul play, and my opponent still won't be able to Psycho Cut, farm me down, so they swap into Victini. I've got a 2 shield advantage, so even though this is an awful matchup, usually I can safely double shield, farm up to 100 energy, and because they have to go for V-Create, they will lower their defense severely, so I will be able to take them out with a Meteor Mash, and I've got 100 energy. So the first Meteor Mash takes out the Victini, we win the CMP tie up against the Malamar, and this second Meteor Mash will be enough to take out the Malamar, and I'm able to take that game. So that's exactly how I want this team to run. Grab a shield with the Articuno in the lead, and then close with the Shadow Metagross. Now here up against Victini, this is actually a little bit different. So I'm going to overfarm massively, wait for them to debuff their defense, and then throw the Ancient Power. But what I honestly should do is just go for the Ancient Power after getting to 10 Psycho Cuts, because they do often shield anyway. So here, gonna overfarm now. My opponent comes in with a Hypno. I'm gonna go for a Brave Bird here, nearly at 100 energy, and then I will go for 1 Psycho Cut, swap out. I banked an Ancient Power. That is gonna be massive for the end game, and I can come in with Malamar. We can comfortably tank any move here. They go for a Thunder Punch, and they're actually gonna go straight away for another Thunder Punch, and that is absolutely fine. We can tank this, no problem, and Confusion is just so slow and doing so little damage that I'm actually going to undercharge and then get a full Psycho Cut farm down, come out with a ton of energy. They come in with their own Malamar, gonna go straight for the Hyper Beam, hoping we can land it here, and we do. It does big damage. My opponent overfarms, allowing me to get to a foul play, and now here I'm going to pause one turn, swap into Articuno, make sure they're not throwing straight away, and we can go for the Ancient Power, take out the Malamar, and my opponent is just gonna concede the match. So able to snipe there, waste all of that Malamar's energy and take that game. Into next game we see another Victini in the lead, and this time you might see me adapt to how I play the lead matchup, and I will go for the Ancient Power straight away, and the threat of a Brave Bird often grabs a shield anyway, so that is perfectly fine with me. I'm going to shield up now, and I will be able to win the second CMP tie as well, and this will now take out the Victini because they are defense debuffed. I'm going to let this move go through, and I am pretty comfortable with letting the Articuno go down. I'm actually going to come in with my Shadow Metagross, and my opponent's going to swap out into Bruxish, and that is perfect for me. I can come in with my Malamar, go for the foul play. This will be taking out the Bruxish, and we're going to see what my opponent comes in with next. They come in with Galarian Rapidash, going to go for the foul play straight away, and this should do some nice damage, put them into range where I can comfortably farm them down, but they do over farm quite significantly. They go for a body slam, that doesn't take me out, and that's worse for me because now they can get to a Mega Horn or a high horsepower. They bait with a body slam, not really sure why they baited in the first place because they would get to a V-Create anyway, but here we go for the Meteor Mash. It barely doesn't take out my opponent. Maybe if I went for one more Bullet Punch and then went for the Meteor Mash, we could have taken them out there, but I think they still would have barely survived one more. So unfortunately we do lose that game, but into the next game we see another Bruxish in the lead. Gonna go straight for that Brave Bird, and this should be grabbing a shield once again, and my opponent does of course shield up, and that's perfectly fine with me. Gonna come in with my Malamar, let the charge move go through. They often go for the Psychic Fangs for some reason. It really doesn't help them out at all. They should just go for an Aqua Tail or Crunch, but here we go for the foul play, take them out. They come in with a Shadow Gardevoir, and they've got a Celebi in the back, and this is an amazing matchup for my Shadow Metagross. We will be able to grab a shield from the opponent, and at this point I can safely shield twice and fully Bullet Punch, farm down the Celebi from this range. Here we will shield again, and we should be able to get the Bullet Punch, farm down before they make it to the next Seed Bomb, and we are able to. We come out with nearly 100 energy. We don't need it. We can just go for a Meteor Mash, and we take out the Gardevoir, and we take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game we see another Victini in the lead, and once again gonna farm up to... Oh, they actually throw their energy first. That is also fine with me. They go for a V-Create. We're going to overfarm here, go for the Ancient Power. We've got the back-to-back loaded, so they're probably going to go for the second V-Create straight away. No, they don't, but they don't swap out either. So I can go for another Ancient Power, grab both shields, and this time, because they've overfarmed so much, I'm actually going to shield here and just guarantee I get rid of this Victini, because a loaded Victini is very dangerous. We go for the Ancient Power, we take them out. They come in with a Rapidash, they go for the energy straight away, perfectly fine with me. Gonna let Articuno go down of course, and I will come in with my Shadow Metagross, and now I do have to be wary because high horsepower or the Mega Horn would take us out, but it doesn't matter. My opponent swaps out and they just concede the match after seeing Malamar, so I'm able to take that game. So we go 4-1 in that first set. Into the next set, we lead into a Medicham. You're not going to see Medicham too often, but it does do fairly well up against Pokemon like Malamar and Bronzong, so that is something here. But we're going to go for a foul play on the CMP tie with a heavy slam, and this won't do that much damage. I can safely let it go through. Gonna overfarm just a little bit here, go for the foul play before they reach the next charge move, and my opponent lets it go through. They come back in with Medicham, and unfortunately we can't make it to a Hyper Beam. We have to settle for the foul play. It does some nice damage, it puts them into the yellow health. We can come in with our Galarian Articuno, and we will tank the first charge move here as it is a nice punch, and we don't want to debuff ourselves first. We now go for the Ancient Power, and this will be grabbing a shield with the bait there. That's great. My opponent throws just before we make it to the Brave Bird. Very nice timing. We go for the Brave Bird, but they swap into a Metang, so Brave Bird is heavily resisted. But we're going to come in with our Shadow Metagross, and you can see the Metal Claws here do absolutely no damage. It's such an awful fast move. They go for the Gyro Ball, and we should be able to fully Bullet Punch, farm them down before they get to another Gyro Ball. We have 100 energy, go for the first Meteor Mash. They're not at the charge move, so we can go for a second Meteor Mash, and this will easily take out the Medicham, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Alolan Raichu in the lead. This is absolutely awful and a great core breaker to this team. So we're going to go straight for an Ancient Power before they get to a Thunder Punch. My opponent actually lets that go through, and I'm very much fine with that. They're going to go for a Thunder Punch after slightly overfarming. Fine once again. Now I am going to shield respect the damage from a wild charge. They do bait me with a thunder punch, but that is fine. Gonna overfarm here just a little bit, go for the foul play just before they make it to the next charge move, and they throw straight away. This time they do go for the wild charge. I'm going to overfarm just a little bit. I don't want to go too low because I don't want to be in range where a Malamar can take me out with their own foul play. They come in with the Rapidash and they swap out into Galarian Slowbro. And this is a worse matchup for them here because everything is double resisted. We take them out with a Meteor Mash. We're going to be forcing them to throw their energy here. And because they have to go for a Mega Horn, this means I can easily get to a foul play. And they are in range now where foul play will be enough to take out the Rapidash. And I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, another Victini in the lead. Gonna play this out pretty similar to the other games. Actually, no, my opponent's gonna throw straight away this time. Perfectly fine with me. They now swap out into Malamar. Gonna go for the Brave Bird, and if this does land, I will swap out, well, I'm gonna swap out anyway, into my own Malamar, and this is not enough for a Hyper Beam. I believe they just go for a foul play, and at this point, I'm gonna overfarm and I went for the CMP tie. I don't know why I did that. We do lose the CMP. You can see I've got a fairly low attack Malamar, but it also doesn't go very high in CP. So we lose the CMP tie there, which is not ideal, but I do at least make it to a foul play here up against this Victini, and they let it go through as well, which is massive. Gonna come in with the Articuno, force them to throw their energy. They go for the overheat and they swap into Shadow Gardevoir, and luckily for me, I've got one of the only Pokemon that beats it with 2 shields remaining. I'm able to fully farm it down and take that game. So that is one of the satisfying things about Shadow Metagross. Into the next game, we see Shadow Gardevoir in the lead, and this time, you know what we're going to do. Just go for the Brave Bird, grab an early shield advantage, and see if we can win this game. We grab the shield advantage here, going to come in with Metagross. They swap out into Raichu. I come in with my Malamar, and things are looking fairly good here. Gonna go for the foul play. My opponent overfarms, probably gonna build to the back-to-back wild charges before throwing. Nope, they're just gonna throw here, and they go for the Thunder Punch bait, which is unfortunate, but I know this is just another Thunder Punch which I can comfortably tank. I'm gonna overfarm as much as possible, get to the back-to-back foul plays, and this will be enough to take out the Alolan Raichu, and we have a foul play to throw into the Bruxish that came in. I don't think my opponent realized I had the energy there. We take them out. Well, we don't quite take them out, but I'm able to Bullet Punch, farm down both Pokemon in the back, and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Malamar in the lead, and I play this out differently each time. It depends on when my opponent throws, but they're not throwing straight away, so I go straight for the Brave Bird. We grab an early shield advantage. I try to swap and catch the foul play. My opponent holds on to their energy. I'm now going to respect the Hyper Beam. Unfortunately, it's a foul play bait, and now I do expect this to be a Hyper Beam, but I can't really afford to use both shields. It lands, it does so much damage, but I'm not in range for them to farm me down, so I'm going to go for my own Hyper Beam. I land it now, and my opponent gets to another charge move. I'm going to let my Malamar go down. I will be able to farm down with my Shadow Metagross here. So that's what I go for. My opponent swaps into a Shadow Lugia, a very spicy Pokemon in this cup. We go straight for the Meteor Mash, hoping it was a CMP type, but my opponent does overfarm. I come in with Articuno, and I barely make it to the Ancient Power on the CMP tie. It nearly takes them out. I'm happy to let Articuno go down. This Lugia goes for a Hydro Pump that does so much damage, takes me out, and my opponent is going to have a Hypno in the back, and this is a really comfortable matchup. My opponent tries to make a catch, we don't fall for it. Gonna go for the Meteor Mash here, and this will easily put them into range where I can fully Bullet Punch farm them down. Gonna shield once. I even have enough energy here where I will make it to the Meteor Mash, but I'm perfectly fine with farming them down, and I'm able to take that game and go 5-0 in that set. Now we've got a few extra bonus battles here. First one, we lead into another Malamar. Bit of a tricky lead here, but you will see we do live a foul play from full health, and because they're running Psycho Cut, it doesn't quite threaten. Now I can go for a Brave Bird, and Brave Bird also doesn't quite take them out, but that's fine. They're in farm down range, so I'm going to come in with my Metagross, get the farm down, but my opponent actually instantly swaps into Rapidash, and that usually means they're running a second fairy type. So I'm going to go for the Meteor Mash here, grab the shield. My only lose con is if they go for the Mega Horn, which they did, but then I don't shield. Now I can safely let this go through. Body Slam doesn't do that much damage, and no, actually they're running Galarian Slowbro. Equally as easy for the Shadow Metagross, we double resist the Poison Jab damage here. I'm going to keep on farming up. My opponent throws just before we get to a Meteor Mash. Very good counting. I'm going to swap into Malamar, farm down their Malamar, and we can now go for a foul play. And this will be enough to take out the Galarian Slowbro, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game we see a Galarian Rapidash in the lead. I didn't often see it in the lead, to be honest. Most of the time it was like a save swap or in the back. My opponent actually doesn't build to the Mega Horn, so I can now go for a Brave Bird just before they make the second Body Slam. My opponent lets it go through, we nuke them, and unfortunately we don't grab the shield advantage, and they come in with a Charm Gallade, and I should have known right from when we saw this Pokemon that they're only running Charm Gallade because they've also got Charm Gardevoir. So I think I should have come in with my Malamar here, because now I don't quite have enough health to make it to 2 Meteor Mashes up against the Gardevoir, and that's agonizing because now this Gardevoir will be able to fully Charm farm me down, and I won't make it to 2 foul plays. So really well played by my opponent, and kind of a misread on the team comp there from me. Honestly, not sure that Malamar into that Shadow Gallade would have done much better, but the Bullet Punches would have at least been super effective up against Gardevoir. Into the next game we see an Alolan Raichu gonna go for the Ancient Power straight away once again. My opponent actually shields it once again, but they go for a full farm down, so I go for a second Ancient Power. They now let it go through, but this Raichu is absolutely loaded. I'm going to let the first move go through, call a bait, and it is just a Thunder Punch, thank God for that. Now I have to shield, probably just going to be another Thunder Punch, but that's fine. No, they actually go for the Wild Charge. I can now go for the foul play, and this should be taking them out, but they actually shield here, so now I will shield once again. No, actually, I'm going to put it all on my Metagross. Gonna come in, farm down the Raichu, and let's see what we can take on in the back. They've got Malamar in the back. I'm going to have to shield this charge move and then overfarm as much as possible. They go for the foul play and they swap into Galarian Rapidash. And at this point it's going to be game over. This Meteor Mash will easily take out the Rapidash. I get to a second Meteor Mash up against this Malamar. And once again the closing power of Shadow Metagross is able to sweep this game. So that's going to be it for today's video. I'm not going to lie, I got off to a pretty rough start with this team, initially running Malamar in the lead and Galarian Articuno as a save swap to bait out any potential Bruxish, but it honestly didn't work out very well for me. But once I flipped the lead round and ran Articuno and basically just sacrificed it for a shield advantage, this team worked out a lot better for me. And if you did enjoy today's video, then make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that being said, let's get into the shoutouts from my previous video. So firstly, we got JCL who says Shadow Manectric. The scene where you just Thunder Fang farm down a Pelipper or a Azumarill is just too satisfying, and that's one of the unique things about Shadow Manectric. You can of course run it with Snarl and double nukes with Wild Charge and Overheat, but you can also run it with Thunder Fang and Psychic Fangs, and there are really not a lot of Pokemon prepared for heavy fast move damage coming from an electric type Pokemon, so you can often catch opponents off guard and completely farm down teams. Next we got Mental Mento who says Zeb Striker because it has Wild Charge which does massive damage and Flame Charge which can boost its attack. And I think Zeb Striker is pretty unique in that sense and is a Pokemon that I really want to try out in the future with the Shadow version. And finally we got Sandkelp Gyrola who says Shadow Electivire is an absolute beast when shields are down, and one of the unique things about Shadow Electivire is that you can actually use it in all 3 leagues, and I don't mean the open common Master League, but the Master Premier Cup, it is actually fairly strong, so that is something that is quite unique about it, and it's also a great raid attacker. And as for my opinion, I think I'm also going to have to go with the Shadow Manectric because it's so flexible. You can run it with that high fast move pressure with the Thunder Fang and Psychic Fangs, but you also can run it with Snarl and double nukes and get to those nukes insanely fast as well. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.